What is Brentwood Property Group?
Yeah. So like you said, I'm Gabe. I started in entrepreneurship. I always knew I wanted to get into it. So built Brentwood Property Group as really my first real business. Brentwood Property Group is just a short-term rental property management company. Focuses on Airbnbs, midterms, primarily.
Okay, awesome. So can you tell me the process? So you have clients, they buy a rental property, and then take me through the process. Like, how do they make money off all this?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we work with so many different people that, whether they bought a house and then they moved out of state and they're like, hey, we want to keep this one as a rental. Let's turn it into an Airbnb. We have clients that this is their second house. So they have a property in Hawaii where they're snowbirds. And then we have investors that just strictly purchase properties here, turn them into Airbnbs. But I mean, primarily step A to Z, it just depends on where they start. If we get a property that's fully furnished, then we don't have to set it up at all. It's fairly easy. Do a walkthrough, any recommendations that we would recommend, and then get it live on Airbnb and the other platforms that we use. But yeah, I mean, the owners are pretty much, all of them are just hands off. They hand everything over to us. We run the systems the day, responding to messages, emergencies, things like that. And just cut them a check at the end of the month. Just
Heck yeah.
management.
So they don't got to worry about it. They can have a property, you manage it, they make the money.
Yep, they love it.
Heck yeah. And then, so you have long-term rentals, but you mainly focus on Airbnbs.
Yes.
So why is Airbnb, is there more of an opportunity there?
Yeah, I think that the idea behind it is you can just charge more. People are able to come stay for whatever convention, event, wedding, whatever it is that brings them into town. You're able to charge a more of a premium rather than just like $1,500 a month for a house. And some houses don't work as a long term. The mortgage is too high. The whatever it may be, it just doesn't make sense as a long term. So.
Awesome. So how does Brentwood make money?
Yeah, so we collect everything. We collect our all the fees, all of the payout at the end of the stay, and then just like an itemized report. They get a document at the end of the month. Say, hey, here's your statement. Here's what we had to buy. Here's the maintenance we did. But we collect all the money, so we just take our management fee off the top and send them the rest.
Awesome. So you take a percentage of a management fee.
Yep.
So so you're incentivized to get that Airbnb leased out.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And that's like our primary goal. Honestly, like when I started the business, I love what I do. So we want everyone to make money and be happy. But yes, we're definitely incentivized. If it's sitting vacant, we have to adjust prices, change photos, whatever it is.
Yeah. I like that. Because, if I don't make money, you don't make money.
Right.
And a lot of times that's not how it works in business.
Yeah, you got skin in the game. It makes you want to lease out the place, right? And yeah, keep it clean. If not, your reviews go down. People don't want to stay. So yeah, definitely.
So you started this business how many years ago? Almost 2 years ago?
Yeah, going on 2 years. Honestly, we just passed probably about a year and a half. But yeah.
Okay. And then because this sounds like just a great timing for you, because Airbnbs have just blown up.
Right.
Everyone wants to stay at an Airbnb. They don't want to stay at a hotel. They want the whole house. They want the experience. And you timing this is just great because locally in our area it's blowing up. But where did you get the idea to really pursue this?
Yeah, it was really interesting. There's just like a whole backstory to it. But to give you the short and condensed version, my fiance and I, we were like, hey, we like this Airbnb thing. We'd like to own our own. We didn't have the funds to go buy a house and furnish the house and then, lease it out, wait for that return. We didn't have the funds. So we honestly pitched just setting up properties or really staging properties. And we had one client come to us and they said, hey, we manage them ourselves, but we're interested in having you set up our properties. So we're like, great, this sounds awesome. We went on to set up like 5 with them, 1 out of state. They flew us out to Austin, Texas, and we set up that property. That was awesome. And she was like, hey, we have friends, we have other people that are interested in management. They just can't find it in Indianapolis. So I think it would be a great avenue. So from there, built a website and really pitched it on 2 local Facebook groups. And then within a few, a month or two, we had at least 3 clients reach out.
Heck yeah.
So.
So you found the opportunity by going out and taking action in something that was kind of complementary to it. The staging is setting up, is furnishing a house so it can sell better, right?
Right, yeah. Yeah. Initially, my fiance bought out a staging company. We had a ton of abundance of furniture. We were looking to start staging houses. She's a realtor, so we're like, oh, we'll just offer that to the clients. We'll stage the house. But that first person that reached out to us, we actually never did a staging deal, never did a staging gig. That first person that reached out to us wanted us to set up Airbnbs. So from there, our whole business just kind of shifted.
Heck yeah. So you saw the opportunity, you took it.
Right.
Yeah. That's awesome. So, and, a lot of people are listening to this and they're probably like, oh, well, you must have had an opportunity before, or you must have had something given to you. You started this business while you were in college. Most people don't start businesses in college. They don't even think about that.
Right.
But you're in college and you just graduated, right?
Yes.
Congrats on that. So you started a business in college. So was that hard? Tell me about that.
Yeah, so this is actually my second business. As I mentioned, like, it's first real business, employing people and having, like, just the feel of a business, right? The first business I started was before COVID, before I really started college. And then the first year while I was in college, I had that business. And that was just Amazon pallets. I'd get pallets. I would then just flip the items in them and sell them for, a profit. That was a great business. I loved it. COVID hit, kind of changed the whole supply chain industry, changed a lot of industries, right? So that was just like a no-go anymore for me, and I kind of just pivoted. I was at this point, I was like, man, I don't know what I'm going to do. So we were trying everything, like hustling to do anything to make money, and looking up ideas, and especially in real estate, right? Wholesaling, things like that. But yeah, I mean, I decided to start the business in college, and I had already had experience with balancing my time between the other business. So, it was definitely a struggle. I mean, and now looking back, even just graduating a few months ago, looking back now, I'm like, man, I don't know how I had time to do both, because now I feel like I go into the office and I'm busy all day.
Well, it's interesting that, okay, that first kind of side hustle business, the reselling of the pallets, that stops, and then you're like, hey, no, I'm not going to get a job.
Right.
I'm going to find another way to make money that doesn't exchange my time for money. Right? So, like, talk to me about, have you always been an entrepreneur? Ever since I've known you, you've always talked about business. And I think that's why we connect, because you're like, hey, man, like, let's think about ways in which we can make money.
Yeah.
So when did that first happen in your life?
Man, it's so hard to say, right? I mean, I think one of the things is I grew up, and my grandmother, she owned properties. My grandma and grandpa owned properties. They owned them in Indianapolis. They weren't super desirable areas by any means, but they were properties. My grandpa was very hands-on, going door to door to collect rent. And it wasn't until they started to decide to sell those properties that I remember meeting with a realtor, and she was like, hey, can you let me into the property? She didn't have the keys. I said, yeah, I'll meet you over there. I'll let you in. And she's like, I'm going to do a showing for someone who wants to buy it. I'm like, great, cool. We pull up. She's there. I'm there. It's like a foot of snow outside. And it was like a trek getting there. So I get there, and she goes, she starts a FaceTime call. And the guy's on like a beach, and he's looking at this as an investment property. And we're sitting out there freezing, walking in like a foot of snow. And I'm like, what does this guy do? So after she gets off the phone, I'm like, what's he do? She's like, oh, he just buys them out of state and he just rents them out. And it was in that moment I was like, oh, like, that's what I want to do. I want to do something that doesn't take so much time, but is still making me money, and I don't even have to physically be there. Like, that was just like mind blowing to me. So overall goal, I'd like to, own my own rental properties and things like that, buy and holds. But that was really the entrepreneurial real estate bug in me. I was like, oh, wow.
Yeah, you're like, oh, this is possible. This guy can make money, and he doesn't have to clock in and out.
Right. Yeah. I was like, oh. And that was, I believe, to be his full-time job. He's just a real estate investor.
Heck yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's awesome. So that first year in business, what did you not expect? What were some lessons that you learned? Like, go through that with me, because I know my first year in business, learned so much,
right?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm still learning, right? I mean, I'm sure we both are. Every business owner, I feel like you learn something new every day, every week, every year, whatever it is. First year, wow. I think it would be the fact that I didn't realize that I built a great website, with the help of I just used Wix, and they had some templates, and it looked amazing. And I definitely tweaked it, right? Added photos and whatnot. But I think that it stood out so much that when people looked, and I used, and you helped me with the SEO, I ranked so high that when people typed in the keywords, it was like me and 2 other websites that were just, they were okay, right? So I wasn't prepared for how big I would get. And my goal was always 20 units. I was like 20 units by the end of 2023. We're well over that now. But that was 20 units with me being hands-on, like me being the only guy. Because, wow, when we first started, my fiance and I, in our property, the first one we had, we were the maintenance team. We were the one answering messages. We were the cleaners. Like, we were there. And it wasn't, super close, 25, 30 minutes away. So we had to drive there, clean, change the sheets, right? Like, it was really hands-on. So I wasn't prepared for all of the things that take place. Going to restock the place with toilet paper, paper towels, things like that, and maintenance calls at 2, 3 in the morning, or messages, right? So definitely, I think that aspect.
Yep. As a small business, you're everything.
Right. One-man band. Yeah.
So going into year 2, I always think the first year in business, and every business, is the hardest because you're working so hard just to get that first client.
Yeah.
And then it slowly gets easier, where it's almost like a current kind of pushing you forward. Have you seen that?
Definitely. Like I said, we built a great website, and that drove traffic. So we've had really great, luck and return on that website with people coming in. But yeah, definitely. Once I felt like it was like a small floodgate. Like, once we tweaked our SEO, once we changed the photos here, once we got opinions on like, what would you do with the website? What should change? Should we do social media? Should we listen on just other input? I felt like the more tweaks and changes we made, like, the gates just opened, and then to the point where it was like, oh, we need some better systems because people are coming. And I didn't expect it to be such a big business when I first started it.
Yeah. Well,